This is a story that happened to a friend of mine. Something that, although it had already happened to him some time ago, he told me a few days ago. I have to say that his words impressed me a lot when he told me in detail about this event. I guess most of you already know Pokémon Go, the new app that is causing a furor in the world. Another successful idea developed by the founder of the company, Niantic, John Hank, also known for the creation of Google Earth. That was a step into the future for a new kind of fun, something that as kids, we could only imagine watching every episode of the animated series. Surely in childhood, more than one of us must have thought at some point how cool it would be if they existed. And even cooler, to be able to travel around places to catch them or fight with other trainers. He was one of them. And as soon as he heard that he could download the app, he didn't think twice about venturing into the game. The excitement he felt, despite being an adult living alone, was indescribable. Which in turn was funny, because he felt like a little kid with a new toy. I mean, he spent hours and hours in the streets catching them, or in the squares fighting with other trainers. He just felt his cell phone ringing to indicate that a Pokémon was nearby, and without thinking, he got up in search of it. Now, everything was going well, until one Tuesday night, where something strange happened. A night that would remain in his memory. It was around 11 p.m., and he was lying down watching TV in his room. But the calm was interrupted when he felt he received a message at that moment. When he picked up his cell phone, he realized that the game was alerting him that there was a Pokémon nearby. But there was something strange. See, normally the program shows what type it is, but this time, only the silhouette of a dark image appeared and did not give it any name. It should be noted that he was hesitant to go out, since it was very late and the weather was not good at all. The wind was blowing quite strong. But after much thought, besides taking into account that it is a safe area, and with a minimum rate of theft, he got out of bed, got dressed, went down to the living room, and went out to the street. Perhaps the fact that the image does not appear is because, well, it might be a rare species. At least he thought so. Whatever it was, he could not miss that opportunity. Guided by the GPS, he realized that the signal directed him to a nearby public square, a place where every morning several parents take their children to enjoy entertainment, such as hammocks, slides, seesaws, among others. It was very dark and the creature was still there, although the silhouette did not look like any other Pokémon he had seen. It still appeared on the map, but he pointed the camera everywhere without finding absolutely anything. He suddenly heard a sound to his left, and perhaps by simple reflex he turned and looked with his cell phone. It was one of the hammocks that moved by itself. Could have been the wind, if the other tree that were on the sides were still. It was then when the terror took over his being. Through his camera, he saw on the screen a male Pokémon trainer sitting in the game. A figure with totally black eyes whose hands were holding each end of the hammock, rocking it. But realizing that my friend was paralyzed, watching him, the strange trainer with torn clothes and deformed face got down and started walking in his direction. As he tells, when he reacted, he began to run back towards his house, feeling that this thing was chasing him, that from time to time he looked back without seeing anyone, but the sensation accompanied him. With his heart racing, he reached his house, quickly opened the door, and locked himself in it, while trying to catch his breath from so much running. His cell phone rang, and he realized it was the game again. noticing that the same shapeless silhouette was nearby, but this time not even in the square. It was now outside his house, right on the sidewalk across the street. And extremely frightened, he went up to the second level and entered the room and closed it from the inside, crying in fear. He was so terrified that he was short of breath and at times had a lump in his throat. The app kept beeping, scrolling through the map he had already entered. He just wanted to run away, but he didn't know where to go anymore. The silence was sometimes interrupted by his agitated breathing until the program, at a specific prompt, informed him that the thing was in front of him. The room suddenly felt cold. His lips exhaled a white vapor that made it clear he was no longer alone. Nor did he want to look, but the signal only made him even more uneasy. In a burst of courage, he grabbed the cell phone, practically shaking, squinting his eyes as he inwardly prayed to God that no one was there. Horror burst into a scream when she opened them. Through the screen, she saw the trainer face to face. His eye sockets were empty, and he was smiling at her, showing his fangs, deforming his face even more in that twisted grimace. And as best as she could, she awkwardly opened the door to her room, stepped outside, and went to a roommate who lived nearby. She called and called until he answered. She was a nervous wreck as she told them what had happened, bursting into tears when they looked at the screen and when nothing appeared. That guy who didn't believe him too much thought that the game was upsetting. He told her that he had no problem with her staying if it calmed him down, but in passing, he recommended that she uninstall the application as it was somewhat addictive and would end up driving him crazy. Finishing the story of the experience, the app was already uninstalled from the mobile phone. But still to this day, there are nights when at night, cold runs through the room, that noises are heard in the house, like small footsteps, and that the feeling of something watching come from the corners. I don't think my friend feels that they live alone anymore. That in that darkening, something came to stay. My friend confessed one thing, that they prefer 1,000,000 times those disturbing sensations to having to see him again. Because we have not yet known the true horror of it.